the slopes and speed on their minds, Daredevil bobsledders hit a dizzy pace, streaking into a new and exciting year in the wonderful world of sports. From high on the mountainside, skiers soared far into space, straining for form, fighting for distance. Down the treacherous, twisting trails, heroes on hickories zigged and zagged in a thrill-filled, spill-filled salute to winter sports. With the same breakneck speed, winter seemed to flash into spring and summer. In New York's Polo Grounds, a bright new star, Willie Mays, blazed across the baseball scene. His amazing fielding and hitting propelled the Giants into the World Series against the Indians. When Vic Wertz connected in the opening game, Mays made an incredible play. Watch. One of the greatest catches in all series history saved the game for the Giants. Dusty Rhodes, New York's phenomenal clutch hitter, won it in the 10th inning, slamming a 3-run pinch homer that just reached the stands, then bounced back. The Giants went on to take 4 straight. In Cleveland, southpaw ace Johnny Antonelli nailed Dale Mitchell for the final out on a foul pop to Henry Thompson. The jubilant Giants, first National League team in 40 years to complete a 4-game series sweep, stood alone, baseball champions of the world.
In tennis, America's Tony TRABERT and Vic SEIXAS in far court met Australia's Lou Hode and Ken Rosewall for the U.S. doubles crown. With thunder and magic in their rackets, the Americans stormed to victory in 4 sets. The first all-U.S. team to win the title since 1948. The finals of the Men's National Singles Championships pitted SEIXAS in near court against Rex Hartwig of Australia. SEIXAS won as Hartwig's return went out on match point. On 14 tries, the coveted championship belonged to Vic SEIXAS. In golf, Ben Hogan saw his putting touch desert him in the Masters tournament. Amateur Billy Joe Patton, scrambling sensationally, almost stole the show. But old pro Sam SNEAD, playing brilliantly under pressure, edged Hogan in a playoff to snare his 3rd Masters crown. A week later, Patton and another pretty famous amateur golfer, Eisenhower by name, got together for a friendly round that found the president in flawless form. Dark horse Ed FERGIL, his left arm withered by a childhood accident, calmly lined up and then rolled in a tricky putt on the final hole of the U.S. Open to capture golf's highest honor. 1954's gamest champion of all, Ed FERGIL. The Kentucky Derby, first jewel in racing's Triple Crown, found Determine, a tiny comet from out of the west, out front and flying in the Run for the Roses. Down the glory road, kicking dust at the rest of the field, Determine pounded to victory in the Kentucky Derby. The Preakness, with Determine not entered, saw Hasty Road, after taking the lead, fight off a tremendous challenge by Correlation, winning by a neck in the Preakness. The Belmont Stakes exploded one of the greatest of all stretch duels, with Fisherman setting the pace and High Gun, a come-from-behind beauty, charging at him. Closing ground with every stride, High Gun kept coming on, and poking his nose out front, High Gun thundered home first in the Belmont Stakes. The British Empire Games provided the year's most heartbreaking moment in sports as marathoner Jim Peters of England collapsed a few hundred yards from the finish line. Stunned officials saw Peters stagger on until he is mistakenly caught by a friend and disqualified short of victory. There was an unforgettable track thrill, too, as Roger Bannister raced away from John Landy in the mile of the century, punishing himself beyond the limits of human endurance in his desperate dash to the tape. Across the finish line, Bannister, first to run the 4-minute mile, had done it again. Winner of the mile of the century, Britain's Roger Bannister.
Ball meant football with the Army-Navy game highlighting Warner Pathe's coverage of the season's big games. It was the Middies' year to cheer. Pathe's exclusive slow-motion pictures showed fancy-faking George Welsh, a calm, cool, and clever quarterback at the helm of the underdog Navy 11. Welsh's screen pass into the flat was collared by Bob Craig. With a key block by Jim Royer opening the gates to touchdown alley, Craig sprinted toward the score that sent Navy on to torpedo Army 27-20 in the Service Classic. It had been a season of long runs and slick pass plays. Oklahoma's Buddy Leak flipped to end Max Boydston on an 87-yard TD thrust against California that helped the Sooners stretch their winning streak to 19 in a row. California, though beaten often, boasted a brilliant all-round star, Paul Larson. Ripping into high gear as he returned to kickoff against Rose Bowl-bound Southern California, Larson flashed his gridiron greatness, sprinting 84 yards to the Trojan goal. In the East, Princeton's Royce Flippin ran wild, eluding Yale tacklers, breaking into the clear and racing down the sidelines. Flippin was flying, a dazzling 70-yard strike for the touchdown. Power-packed UCLA, unbeaten and untied, sprang swivel-hipped Jim Decker loose against Oregon behind an escort of deadly blockers. Eluding the last Oregon defender, Decker was touchdown-bound, 91 yards, the second longest run in UCLA football history. But it was undefeated Ohio State on the breakaway brilliance of Howard Hopalong Cassidy that won recognition as the nation's #1 football team. Another tops in sports in 1954.